I'm going to show you really quickly how to make a drawing just like this. And this is an extension of the orthographic projections we did earlier on. We've still got our front view, we've still got a top or maybe right side view, and then an isometric. Generally for working drawings, we also add in what's called a bill of materials, and that's what this guy is right here. It's not going to be required for the project per se, but it is kind of a helpful thing and kind of nice to have sometimes when you're making things. And then I'm also going to show you how to put in some working drawings so that when we are able to, you can actually go in and go into the shop and build this thing. Okay. The first thing that I did was I actually made this, and I actually made all of the parts and pieces out of One Part Studio, and so they relate to each other. They are in the right orientation and everything that I need, and so this part's all good, and I've shown that in kind of earlier videos. The next thing that you actually want to do is create an assembly, and this is going to allow us to have a view of all of our parts and pieces all together. So once we have this assembly, we can just go ahead and go to Insert, and I'm going to insert Part Studio 1, and it's going to allow me to kind of insert all of these things right away. And to be honest, all of these parts are here, but they don't relate in this particular file. So I can actually move all of these parts and pieces around. But I would suggest not doing that. So I just put those in. I'm going to be done with this assembly. If you have numerous parts and pieces and you want to go through the process of actually creating an assembly, go for it. That's just not going to be part of this video here. So I've got this assembly, and that's mostly just so I have my bill of materials and so I can put it in my drawing. So I'm going to hit a new drawing. We're going to use ANSI A inch. All of our tape measures are an inch, and this is a good size. One thing you can do is actually put in, oh, never mind. I actually want to put in that assembly. So I'm going to do Assembly 2, that's the one I just created. And generally I do this for this front page just so I know what that project's going to be. So maybe I put in that front view, maybe I put in that right side view, and I can project and put in maybe an isometric as well. And there we go. Now I know, looking at the front page, exactly the object that this is. From there, I usually put in what's called a bill of materials. It's abbreviated here, BOM table, B-O-M. So I can click there. It automatically picks that assembly, so it takes all those parts and pieces and puts it in there. And so now we've got the name. So the part number is really the part name, and so we've got that kind of description there. I know how many there are, and then it's also got a list of, okay, it's item number 1 or item number 2, and so we can look there as well. Generally, it's seeing the quantity and then seeing also what names there are to the part. If I wanted to, I could actually add a description, but I don't think that's needed. Now, the next thing, I'm going to go to this panel over here, and I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to put in each one of those parts and pieces. And first I'm going to start with inserting a view. I'm going to insert, and I'm going to start with this part 1. Why not? It's there. And what I can do is, first I'm going to check out the scale. That seems really small. It's going to be hard to actually see. And so I'm going to up that a little bit. I'm going to see, okay, 1 to 3, what's that look like? Okay, that's getting closer. Let's see. I know that my other view is going to be very small, so I don't need a whole lot of space for it. But I think that might actually be pretty close right here. So I've got this, and then right away it actually is in this projected view option. And so I can actually put in that right side view. And one thing we haven't really covered too much, but is something to remember. You only need the views that help you understand this particular part. And so I don't need an isometric, and I don't even need a top view, because I can actually tell all that's going on. It's just a board with a couple angles on the end. And so this is actually probably enough for this view. And so if you wanted to, you can actually put in, and I'll show you how to do maybe another part. And this one's going to be unusual because within the Part Studio, it's oriented slightly differently. And so this one, I'm going to try to put in and then try to orient it correctly. So I'll put the view in, and then I'm going to get out of that tool. I hit escape there, and I'm going to see if I can align view horizontal, and then it's going to ask me to select a line that I want to be horizontal, and that happens to be that one right there. Okay, so now this is horizontal. It's kind of a better way of seeing things. And then what I can do is go into my projected view, click on this, and I'll get that hopefully right side view right there. So I've got a couple different parts already. If I wanted to, I could probably put a third one up there. And then I also want to make sure that I have dimensions. And so I want to know the overall width, the overall height, and then the overall depth as well. So we've got those major directions. If there's anything unusual, we've got a couple angles. I'll need to make sure I dimension those. So angles are selecting two non-perpendicular and non-parallel lines. The other one is going to be here. All they happen to be the same. If there were any holes or any other features within here, I'd want to dimension not only the location, but also the size. So there's size and location, and basically I'm trying to get all of the dimensions that would help me to actually build this. And so this right here, this bottom part, I think is dimensioned enough. I can actually make this. I don't need to know what the length of this line, because I know the angles here, and so that's all good. If it's a 90-degree angle, we assume that if it's pretty close, it is, unless it's otherwise marked. And I don't need to measure that, because we as manufacturers, as woodworkers, keep things at those right angles, if at all possible. So there you go. That's how you would take and put your part and your assembly all into first into an assembly and then into a drawing. And once you've got that, once you got the dimensions, you're ready to make the thing.